Hey everybody, welcome to episode 13 of Around the Basket. I am your humble host Daryl, and I'm joined as always by this devilishly looking, dashing good guy in blue, Jeremy. How are you doing?
Doing great. And hello to the chain gang. How is everybody out there doing?
Yeah. Thank you for joining, 8:30 on a Wednesday. If you're watching live, if you're watching on the weekend, what are you doing? Sign up for a free account on Patreon and you can be involved in the chat live. We can take your comments. We can ask your questions to the guests as well. It's what we like. If you don't, you can watch it a few days later when we release it on the weekend.
That's right. You can still add comments then. It's just the responses aren't going to be live. They'll be a little delayed.
Yeah, exactly. Last week we had Sam Western on the show.
Yes.
What a great guy he was.
Oh.
A wealth of disc golf knowledge, especially about obscure discs. I'd even go as far to say, in a kind way, he's a bit of a disc golf disc nerd.
Yes. Or maybe if we wanted to change that, maybe a connoisseur of discs.
Yeah. Well, you have a sommelier.
Yes.
And then there's a beer one as well. I forget what the beer one is called.
You can
Brewmaster? A broom. I think it is a brewmaster. Yeah. So you can be a sommelier, a brewmaster, and then we need one for disc golf. We need a disc.
Yeah.
A disc. Yeah.
Okay. Connoisseur. Well, the other
master.
thing too that I really enjoyed about our conversation with Sam last week was he's so funny and so quick-witted.
Yeah.
And it's like he comes off very level-headed, and just as he's speaking, then he'll throw out a comment, and he's got me trying to hold myself from going into stitches.
That's one thing. That's one reason why I like playing with Sam as well, because he's the same on the course, right? You make a comment, and then he mentioned at the end of the episode that he's an honorary. He's a British citizen now as well.
Yes.
And I think that's my type of humor, is that dry humor where you'll say something and it will just fly under the radar. It's like you don't react to it, you just say it, and then you get that reaction from somebody else. They're like, "What did you say?" Oh, okay, I know you're joking. And Sam's exactly the same as that. So,
yes,
yeah, great guy.
Well, and we're up to 16 Patreon members, so thank you to everybody who's joined the Patreon. And we got 343 subscribers on YouTube now.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to that magical 350 that we're pushing for. We appreciate everybody out there who's already subscribed and encouraged friends to subscribe. And we also heard from Andrea Michaud today that sometimes it's telling people in the grocery store to subscribe.
Even when you're taking an earbud out and you're putting it in somebody else's ear to, hey, this is the podcast I'm listening to.
Yeah, so thanks for that. We appreciate that as well. And for 350, we've put together a prize pack. We hadn't done a big prize pack in a little while. And this one here, we've got a disc golf bag. We have 2 discs, one of them being the Dina discs.
Brave,
yeah, that's right. And then we have an Edgar
stamped pig.
Yeah. And then we got a set of birdie beads from Mike Carey. We've got a chain out wooden mini that came from Kevin Topping.
Redhead woodworking, yeah.
Yeah, so we got a fantastic little prize pack for when we get to 350. We'll take a look. We didn't really declare this one. Normally we've done it by the people who are visible as subscribers on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll talk about how it will be given away, but it will be given away at the 350 subscriber mark.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
That's what we like.
Mm-hmm. And as always, if you're in the chat, you can be interactive with us, ask as many questions as you want, and we'll get to as many as we can.
Absolutely.
But this week, we are joined by one of those wonderful people, Daryl, who helps put those sweet, sweet plastic discs in our hands.
Yeah.
He is all in on disc golf, selling discs, sponsoring players, designing courses. Join us in welcoming Brendan McKinstry to Around the Basket.
Oh.
Did you hang up on him?
I might have done. You caught me off guard. I was checking something else.
Oh, there you go. And here he comes right back. That's a perfect intro. We always tell the guests, we're going to intro and then you'll be on live. We didn't ever tell them, we're going to intro you and then we're going to hang up on you.
Hang up on you by accident.
So welcome, Brendan.
I'm back.
There you go. Hey, Brendan, how are you doing?
Ooh.
Good. That was almost, I think that might have been the shortest interview you guys have ever had.
That's right.
Exactly.
Didn't even get started. But hey, talking about looking sharp, we were talking about that earlier. Take a look at this guy.
He's looking pretty good. Look at that. He's got one of only 4 or 5?
Five. And 2 of them are held by us. So he's one of those 5 people who have that chain out logo hat. And if things work out the way we're thinking this year, then we may actually have another logoed chain out hat, hey?
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. Now, I know you're doing a little bit of work over here.
Yeah.
Are you happy with where we're at?
I'm not too sure. You keep talking, and
All
I will
right.
let you know.
As always, our technical wizard is doing the technical wizard things and making sure our episode is up live as we had declared. So Brandon, yeah, thanks for taking a chance to join us tonight. And
No problem. Happy
oh,
to
we
be
can
here.
hear an echo there too, Daryl.
I'm
That's
good.
great.
We're good.
All right. Yeah. So how are things going, by the way?
Not too bad. Busy. Some news of new releases coming out. So starting to get my toes back into the disc golf water, disc-wise anyway.
Yeah. So do you find, like, is there a downtime in a disc golf store? Like, obviously the Pro Tour takes the break during the winter, but as a disc golf store owner, like, we're always seeing new discs getting dropped, right? So is there a downtime for you?
Just because of how much I sell, I'm not able to order every single drop throughout the winter when they're spread out. I think besides House of Discs, there hasn't really been a big drop in the last little while.
Right.
There's been some discraft stuff like the Buzzsaw and stuff that are coming
Yeah.
out, but nothing crazy. And then when it's Tour Series hits, it's just kind of like bang, bang, bang.
Right.
Yeah. And when like they start to announce all the signings and such, you know, we heard that Ricky's with Discraft now. When did the Tour Series discs normally drop? Is that kind of into the spring, or is it all throughout the year?
It's a little bit different for everybody. You probably see it the next month or two as the Pro Tour starts up. You'll see some stuff start to come out. So
Yeah. Well, that's and that was one of the things that we thought would definitely be keeping you busy. And then also too, are you working with anybody right now on course designs or anything like that? Because we know that's another one of the many hats besides the chain out one that you wear.
I have put in working on getting a bid in for the Fort Saskatchewan. So maybe you see us hopefully working on that. If not that, then there's a couple other ones that we have our irons in the fire on. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Well, yeah, that's good. We had a chance to go out once Fort Saskatchewan got the great news that the city had approved the spending to build that course and gave them some space. They did a little celebration at Boston Pizza out there in Fort Saskatchewan, and Daryl and I were able to make it out and see the guys and see Daryl and Curtis, and they're quite pumped about it. So
yeah, absolutely. I had a chance to play with Daryl when he came up here for work the one week he was up here. So talked to him about that course and kind of some of the stuff that went into the designing and stuff like that as well. One weekend. So definitely excited to do something going in there.
Nice.
And then on top of all that, another thing that we wanted to hit you on right at the very top here as we catch up with you is 2025 is here. You've been known to have a BR ambassador team. Are you putting that together? Or when does that start to get done?
That starts to get done when I start to do it, but there is definitely going to be a team again this year. Probably similar size to last year, and it will be announced when it is announced.
But it is something that'll be in the works.
You're just working on contracts and that big name that you got to sign, right? Whoever the team captain's going to be.
Legal stuff we got to work our way through and stuff.
Yeah. It's lots of negotiations and big boardroom meetings.
Well, we know Ricky's gone, and we know Big Germ's signed. So I mean, I don't know. Isaac's gone.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering who's left. Yeah.
Might have to bring in a helicopter to bring in the next.
Love it.
I have space to land on my lawn. I don't know.
Not that it's anything to do with what we've got in our show notes, but seeing as we're mentioning pros and moving and stuff like that, did you hear the announcement today that Chanamo Fry, he's retiring? He's quitting the Pro Tour. Yeah, I think he said after 7 years, maybe 13 years on the Pro Tour, his health and medical bills and looking back on last year, it wasn't quite financially worth it for him, so he's decided that he's hanging up the keys. Yeah,
I imagine touring in the States too, like having health coverage for stuff. Your job would be a lot easier than trying to pay for it with this golf.
Especially because he was sponsored by ThoughtSpace, right? Or was he Open Bag?
No, I think he was ThoughtSpace.
He was ThoughtSpace and Infinite. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people are both.
Yeah.
But I wonder too with that as well is like you hear Paul Ulibarri talk about playing local A tiers and B tiers, and if you're kind of done with the Pro Tour itself and you're in a pretty good disc golf hub like Chandler is, because he's out in that Washington, Oregon area.
Yeah.
And if he's going to just go clean up at tournaments, he could probably do just as good with less expense winning A tiers and B tiers
Right.
in the area, coming up to Canada for a BC Open, that kind of thing.
Yeah, he did mention that on his post that he'll still see people out in the Pacific Northwest, but he's not going to be touring anymore. He's got his plans set up for his next future endeavor. So, yeah,
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's been kind of cool to see some of the announcements and that there were some big changes. And I know that wasn't kind of what we were initially thinking
Yeah.
about, but just I was listening to Ricky on Tour Life, and it seems like how could it not be a good fit, right, for him to be with Discraft, and the fact that his brother-in-law's there, and that kind of thing. And I know people don't like the idea of him and Paul being together, but
then look at the Robinson brothers.
yeah,
They were good on Prodigy, but then now they split up and they've gone to do different teams. So,
I guess
what's your point?
My point was just it's been kind of interesting with some of that news and kind of cool to see where people have ended up landing.
Do you think that had anything to do with it? Do you think Paul put in a word? Do you think Paul has that much pull?
Oh, I
as
do.
the captain to be able to sign, to be like, not that he's going to say, hey, you guys should sign Ricky, but do you think he's going to be able to be in, I forget Discraft guy's name. He was on Tour Life a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to be in his ear saying, hey,
I think if I don't,
I think Ricky's name speaks for itself.
yeah,
right,
I was going to say
Brendan?
it doesn't matter what disc golf
There's only
manufacturer
so many
you are.
companies that can afford to pay for Ricky Wysocki to come to their team anyway.
Yeah.
Is there more than a few?
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is like if any of the companies had the ability to put the money up and you found out, oh yeah, I think Ricky might be interested in coming to your company, are you going to say no?
Well, I mean, he got let out of his contract from Dynamic for, because he wasn't selling that many discs. And I listened
Is
to
that
him
really
on Tour
what
Life.
you think it was?
Well, I mean, there was a whole Dynamic wasn't making money, right?
Yeah.
Were they not making money off him? It was his contract was too big; they couldn't sustain it.
I think that was probably more it than anything else in my
Right.
mind, but
I don't know if it's off him or just in general.
yeah,
How many people are flipping on them being a big corporation now?
Yeah,
for sure.
Realistically, what other company could afford Ricky without going all in on Ricky?
Right.
Besides Cinnabon. I didn't think he was ready to go back to Cinnabon. Like
No.
if you say someone like Thoughtspace signs Ricky, he is their guy. He is their
he
main
has
guy.
to be. Yeah,
Pretty
Just
much any company that's
yeah.
I
And that's
can't even think of any other company that would.
Well, that's the hard thing, right? You think of someone like Discmania who could probably afford it if they didn't have Gannon.
And a number of other
and
players.
then
And a number of other-
discs anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
that's
maybe
true. Yeah.
it all factors into the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, so then when you think about it, that was something that they were talking about as manufacturers when we were listening to them chat on Tour Life, was about how they can get the discs and sell those discs. And it probably leads us back into where we wanted to go, and that
Yeah.
was disc golf stores. And when we had Jason Tay from Disc Republic on the show back in December, we were able to touch on some aspects of being a disc golf store in Canada. But if we can get more into it, like we've seen Alberta stores like Gander Disc Golf close and Limber Disc Golf, not necessarily close, but drop their disc golf from their offerings. Whereas then we've seen stores like Disc Republic do quite well and BR's doing well as well. What do you think, just kind of as a discussion topic, is what is the key to actually being successful in a disc golf business in Canada? Like, what are your thoughts so far from your experience?
I think it's just keep your costs as low as possible. Say you're renting a space in Edmonton or Calgary, that's $2,000 or $3,000 a month. Chances are you don't want your disc golf store there 4 months a year, so you got to have that there all year. I don't know how many discs you sell in January when you're in Edmonton. Maybe in Calgary you can see the grass, but I know here we have like 16 inches of snow on my front lawn, so it's few and far in between. I would think what Limber had set up, I think what you can see there is that I think they were doing okay with their disc golf stuff. It just wasn't worth the square footage they were putting into that over some of the other ways they were making money. There's other ways they can make more money doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and also
I
too,
think.
probably like the investment that you have to have if you want to sell discs. It's not like you can buy even 100 discs and say I'm a disc golf store seller. In my mind, I'm thinking that there is that high overhead of just getting into the game and having enough good product for people to even consider or pay attention to you. I don't know if you've experienced that yourself, but
Yeah, like we started out in cameras when we were just in the camera store. We had probably like we started out with like $3,000 of discs or something like that, which is
Right.
not a lot of discs. Maybe we had like a couple hundred discs, but even for that to put an order in, I think we ordered like 200 Prodigy discs, and then we ordered I don't know 150 Innova discs or something. And that's all we could have because you have to have a minimum order size, and then you have to be able to have a wide enough variety of discs in that line that
Yeah.
someone comes in and says, "Oh, you carry Innova? Oh, you don't have any AVRs? Oh, that's a problem." Or whatever.
yeah, certainly. Daryl can nod his head on that. What? You don't have a JK AVR and then a KC Pro AVR
I
and
don't
then
throw AVRs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was interesting too. Even just this is kind of off topic about the AVRs. They were doing something on Grip Lock there, where it was like, how many Innova putters could you name? And I think Hunter went through 7 AVRs because
Right.
there's that many different versions of that disc. So yeah,
Yeah.
like if you want to say you're an Innova and then someone's expecting you don't have one of those discs,
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
like, oh man, you don't sell Innova, and it's like, actually I do.
I
but-
do. I just don't have every single one. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
you're getting to a whole new level of where I didn't even think, and it doesn't take much for me not to think, but when you get down to, because I always think, yeah, okay, as much as we wanted Gander to stay alive and stay profitable and you know have a disc golf store in Edmonton, they were just the disc golf store. But when you look at Limber, it was just a small piece of that Limber space that they had. But when you get down to, okay, we have dedicated 300 square feet to this disc golf portion of the business, how much, you know, what money is this bringing in compared to the 300 square foot? Whereas if we take the disc out of that 300 square foot and put in, you know, knickknacks or whatever else they have to sell in that store, when you're doing that much cost analysis to say that 300 square feet needs to be making this X amount of, you know, even though you've got the rest of the area that might be profitable, analyzing just that little space, because that's what I couldn't understand. Like they had so much going on in that space, they couldn't just leave that disc golf part there and just leave it and be, and it was what it was. But they had to take it out to be saying it wasn't that profitable for the amount of space that it was at.
yeah,
The other part of that too is that then people are expecting when they come into the store, they're expecting someone that's in there knows everything about disc golf.
Yeah, that's
You have
true.
to make sure that all your staff are trained. So if all you have is, okay, you have one bartender on, say you're serving drinks or whatever,
Yeah.
that bartender also has to know everything about disc golf in order to be an employee to cater to that group of people that come in. So I think that model works. If you're someone that's there all the time, you're going to be there, or someone, like
Yeah.
the entire staff is passionate about disc golf, but it's hard to have it as just like an option unless it's kind of like serve yourself disc golf center, but it's kind of
Right.
takes away from some of what having the store would be.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
yeah. Well, and you know, you and I had talked at one point there, Brendan, and we were talking about that Try Discs website and how it has the ability to show Canadian disc golf stores. So I did a look at it. I know it's not the most accurate thing there that's available, but it listed about 20 Canadian stores or so. And I did some Google Street Views and took a look, and it does look like about 50% of the stores are probably online stores, and then the other 50% do have a physical location that they've rented. Some of them have a location listed, but when you Google it, it's a house or something like that. So that really brings to my mind is a brick and mortar store actually capable of succeeding in Canada at this time? Aside from, you know, we've seen, like you said, Disc Republic's doing it and Ace Runners turning into Innova Canada, so they've probably got those Innova dollars behind them to float them if they need it. But is that really, from what you've experienced, something that can be successful just as a disc golf brick and mortar?
I think having, say we became the Discraft distributor in Canada, that's an easy way to float yourself, but it's also difficult for people in your area that want to try other stuff. So
Yeah.
you will be a store, but you might not be a store that everyone wants to use because just everyone likes throwing what they throw. So I think that it's possible maybe in a hub, but the problem with hubs is that the price rent foot space is so high. Like I imagine the price to rent a Calgary for that limber, who knows what that costs.
Yeah.
Whereas if I can, I don't know, but online stores are much more manageable, but then you also have to be able to put in the work to be able to get out and sell the stuff or get your word out there.
Yeah. Well, you brought up something that I did have in my kind of thoughts and notes that I thought Daryl might tear me apart when I brought it up. But one of the thoughts I had with it was if you took a company like Discraft, if we use that, and this is kind of maybe like the Innova model, but say you're more of a private entrepreneur who wants to be in disc golf. Do you think if someone said, I'm going all in on Discraft, I'm going in on that one manufacturer and I'm going to work with them and I'm going to have them make me the distributor in Canada for their discs. So not only am I selling only Discraft out of my store, I'm also supporting all of Canada with Discraft. Do you think that's the way that maybe we could see more brick and mortar stores?
You're talking about like an Ace Runners Innova model.
Yeah, like if we did that across, like in Edmonton, in Toronto, and did it in some of those more of those centers.
I think that's possible. Just you might lose the diversity in discs, just like you have the different pockets in Alberta where this is, say, Lethbridge is more Prodigy and
Yeah.
whatever. Everyone has their pockets of this is Innova area, this is whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's way more what you'd see. And then you'd have even having like Prodigy's offices and or like their Canada store in Ontario, like you see more presence that way, even though they have people spread out. And I think you're going to see like a lot more people. If your only choice is Innova because that's your store in your area, that's what you're going to throw.
Right.
So I think that's a good way to go into it more as a business point of view for needing to make money, say survival or something, or I don't know. That's probably half of what the situation is there.
What do you think makes it work for Innova then? They bought out Ace Runners. They turned Ace Runners into an Innova only Canadian store. Obviously, everybody in that area.
Taking the headache out of shipping and importation, just importing mass amounts, and then having someone in Canada that can ship locally, and then selling in Canadian dollars, and just keeping in Canadian dollars probably. That's
right, but what I mean is like Jeremy was saying, if somebody in Edmonton said, okay, we're gonna even use Lethbridge as an example, then if somebody from Lethbridge said, okay, I want to go all in on Prodigy, let's get a Prodigy store in Lethbridge. Everybody in, that's going to be your central hub. Would that work? As if you had a Prodigy hub in Lethbridge, and then say in Toronto you had a Discraft only store, whereas we've got Innova in BC. Would those individual stores work?
And yeah, I think Brendan was saying that it would likely work. It's just that now that area,
you're isolating that area.
That's really what you got now. Yeah. But you might also be building a loyal fan base in that area too, which could be another thing. So maybe it'd be a combination of having some, MPO, FPO players at a high level in that area to also coincide and support it. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely considered that. I've never sent an email to Discraft saying we will be your Discraft hub. Yeah. We will build a warehouse. We will do all that. Yeah. You're seeing that a little bit. Like you have some distributors in Ontario, like Toplink. They're just a distributor. Or Atlantic Disc Golf is also like a pretty big distributor for, say, MVP and some of those other smaller brands. So you're seeing different distributors like kind of group up with different companies. So I think that's a way of having staying power for sure.
Is Toplink the distributor for Castaplast?
They were.
Oh, okay.
They are no longer, I don't think. I can't. I have to double check. I can't remember exactly which one.
Okay.
I think stuff, but lots of that House of Disc stuff all just comes only from Emporia now.
Oh, okay.
Like
all right. Yeah.
Discmania, Castaplast, all that stuff.
Right. So then if we're kind of looking at the stores and we say Canada's just not at that point yet, and to have one store that can sell everything and to do well, like we, like the Disc Republics are far and few between, and you need to combine it with another business to make it successful. We've seen it disc golf stores open with breweries. What other businesses do we think that maybe would be successful, or has anybody thought of that? Has that been on your mind?
Oh, I think we've all thought about it.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any thoughts like of opening up an actual
Oh, yeah,
brick and mortar
breweries, I think
with
it's-
something else?
If someone messaged me and said, "We're opening up this, would you want to have disc golf in the store?" Like I've thought of that before, like, or I've messaged even just talking to people, like, if you ever open a whatever place, brick and mortar store this year, like, let me know, and maybe we can do something. The other option is going into sports stores, but it's the other part of that is like in camera, like the product knowledge of the people that are in the store,
Yeah.
and
So
getting someone that cares enough to have that wide display. And like that's kind of nice where we have that partnership where I can order and stuff so they have enough variety and I can do some training and stuff. That might be kind of a future thing, and I do that with kind of a couple stores, but it is.
So what genre of store do
saw-
you think would work good with disc golf?
Like, what's a good cross promotion?
Like Jeremy said, we've seen breweries. Beer and disc golf always seems to go together.
I
What
think like
what
an
other?
outdoor store? Like I forget what that store is called in Canmore, but they have some disc golf stuff in there. Like say
Okay.
you're selling your like a mech, but not a mech.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we had looked too. I think when I was doing those Google Street Views, I saw one of them that whether they were sharing the same space or just in the same building, two separate businesses. But I saw a board game cafe and a disc golf store, and I'm like, well, I know for me that's definitely a tie. I don't know if everybody who disc golfs like board games, but I think there is a fairly big Venn diagram there.
I would go to that store.
Yeah.
You let me know when you start a board game store, Jeremy, and we'll make it happen.
We'll make that happen. Yeah. What else
Well-
what do you think, Daryl?
I mean, because I've always been as soon as I got into disc golf, kind of the same as you. You got into disc golf. What can you do more in disc golf? I know I'm going to design a course and I become a course designer. We got into disc golf. What else can we do? We started a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
One of the thoughts that I've had is that you have your disc golf store on the bottom. This is one of the, if I won the lottery or something
Okay.
like that, I would like to start this. We'd start a disc golf store, brick and mortar. In the back, just like Gander was going to have, we'd have like a tech disc. We'd have a putting area, somewhere where, maybe a soft padded area where you could actually throw the disc.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, so you wouldn't damage it or whatever. But then on another level, maybe above the store, I'd like to have like a podcast studio. And you rent that space out because podcasts, everyone's got a podcast these days, right? We've kind of come a long way from when we first started. We have kind of a studio now that we set it up. We've got lights, we've got everything. But you can imagine if you had an interchangeable, if you had 3 or 4 couches, a couple of tables and chairs, so you could mix it up, backdrops, rent out a space for a podcast studio, have your disc golf store downstairs, maybe have like a limber, mini tap room sort of thing as well. I don't know because I don't know how hard it is to get a license for selling beer, that sort of thing. But
That's
my.
you won the lottery.
This is
that's
my
your disc
this is
golf
my
store.
vision of a disc golf store for the future. So
Well, let's throw it now to Brendan. Is he going to succeed when his money runs out, or what are your thoughts on that setup?
If he wins the lottery, I think I can pull it off. Just jumping right into that, I'm not sure. The other option I think would be to split this, like have a space that would be usable by somebody else, and then you're in there when they're not using it. So say it's I have a Taekwondo studio in the evenings, but during the day it's a disc golf store, or I have an accounting space or whatever. No, you're not accounting, but whatever it is, and then you move that part out of the way, and that shared whatever space becomes a disc golf store. Kind of like when you see those minimalist apartments on whatever, on Facebook Reels or whatever, where they have, this is my living room, and you slide this wall over, and now this is my bedroom. It's the same space, but the whole wall moves over and it transforms the space.
Yeah.
Something
You know
like
what?
that.
When you say that, what actually makes me start thinking is that we're starting to see a number of disc golf courses share space with cross country ski courses. That's one of the ones that we're seeing, and those two types of activities, of course, people do disc golf in the winter, but not as much. So maybe there's a space for a cross country ski, and then in the summer it's a disc golf, and then that could be one where that's a shared space, but you don't have to pay for it for 12 months of the year because you're not going to sell discs as much in the winter.
Or where you have like a cross country ski club, And then so they have their club where they do their ski and wax rooms or whatever, and then during the summer, that's your disc golf club, something like that. Where you're able to share that space because no one's waxing their cross country skis in the summer.
Yeah,
Right.
that's for sure. Well, I know too, the other thing that people don't realize when it comes to Canadian disc golf stores, it's usually said we're 1/13 the size of the United States. And I tried to get an idea, and you can tell me what your thoughts are on this number, Brendan, but I was looking and saying Edga has 400 members of disc golf members of the club. And then I remember when we talked to Tim, I think he said that he thought that maybe there was actually 2,000 players in the area, but the 400 are probably the ones that are buying more than a starter set a year. We're actually paying attention to disc drops and buying some and trading and doing that. And I'm thinking if you extrapolate that across Canada, I'm guessing like there might be like 12,000 disc golfers who are playing regularly, might be in tournaments buying discs. Have you ever done the math yourself to try and figure out what the size of our disc golf buying market is?
I haven't, but it is interesting to see on Shopify, which we use for our website and stuff. You can see if it's like a first-time buyer versus third-time buyer versus ninth-time buyer, and like how much it repeats and stuff. It's pretty interesting. Like there's probably as many. Like there's obviously more people that buy once, and that's it. But once you get into, there's probably as many people that buy, say, 3 times as there is people that buy 5 times. But once people find something they like, then that's kind of what they'll stick with.
Gotcha.
You probably see just as many first-time buyers as you do 9-time buyers. Like people are
not first-time buyers, but as many, say, second-time buyers.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, someone's going to buy it from you a couple times. They might buy it from you 9 times. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration, 9 times, but
yeah.
You do have a ton of people that buy it from you once, and that's it. Especially like people that order from the States for one-off discs or whatever they want. But once someone, I would say. But then you can definitely see people that are popping up that you see on, say, like Facebook disc golf groups. There's people that have ordered from you like 5 or 10 times, and you see them buying and selling discs every single day on Facebook. So,
right,
really,
some people are hardcore.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've seen that as I watch on Canadian Disc Golf Hub and some of the other groups there. You do see that it's always the same people kind of popping up, and I'm always wondering about that because they'll sell a stack of 24 discs or whatever the max is, and then sure enough, give it 2-3 weeks, maybe a month later, they've got another 24. So I don't know if this is just an in and out process that they're doing, if it's the equivalent of curbing, or if it's just that their love of discs is so big that they've got such the collection to sell.
I think there's some of both for sure.
Yeah.
There's some people that just buy and sell a ton of stuff. They probably lose money on every disc, but they just love it.
Well, and I'm wondering too, is if maybe what the method is for the successful disc golf store is getting into that high traffic area and just having a great selection of starter sets with somebody who, for a starter set, you probably, and a new disc golfer, you don't need to be as knowledgeable as an employee as you would be to talk about the latest drop of Paul Macbeth's Luna and why it's different than this one or whatever it is. So if you had a wall of great starter sets and could speak to those in a high traffic area near a disc golf course, pushing them out, I'm thinking that would probably be a good way to support the business. What would you think about that?
It's definitely always good to have starter sets. You're always going to have people walk in and say, oh, what's disc golf? Or, oh, I saw this disc golf course. Tell me about it. And you're going to have people that say, oh, if you buy a starter set, you'll have more than you need. If you want to try a variety, or you can even just like having a ton of putters, you can get a ton of people out starting just with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of putters, I would say, like we store in our storing cameras. And I was still living in Camrose and in there quite a bit more. We would just sell a ton of putters to people that would just want to try it out, or a grandma that comes in and wants to play with 3 of her grandkids, so she'll buy 3 putters or something. So.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. And I think even too, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, we were doing a Thanksgiving weekend, and they wanted to add a little bit of disc golf to it, and that's what they did. They got like a very base see-through plastic AVR or whatever it might have been a $10 disc at most, and
There's
bought
no see-through AVRs.
7-8. No, this one was. I'll show you. I've got one.
See-through AVR?
Yeah. It's like a really really basic AVR, but bought, like you said, bought a whole bunch of them, and then we played with them for that weekend, and that was probably the most of them will play disc golf.
Do you still stock? Obviously, you must do. You stock beginner sets on your website.
We have some, yeah.
Do you see? And you had beginner sets at the store in Camrose.
Yeah.
Did you see that you sold more starter sets from the brick and mortar store because it was located near a course, and like you said, putters and things like that? You're selling more at a store when it's located near a course than you are selling beginner sets online.
Oh, way more in the store.
Right.
Not
Okay.
even close.
So
Especially
Putting
because
together a
shipping
model
for
here.
starter set's
Yeah.
going to be $15 or more minimum
Right.
just to ship a starter set online.
Right.
I think that's probably what's got a lot to do with it as well, and that kind of brings me on to my kind of topic that I didn't do a lot of research on,
Okay.
but kind of. You were asking about the location of disc golf stores
Mm-hmm.
and what makes them why another round seems to be opening up stores left, right, and center. And I think it's because it's the location that they're putting them in. Is they're putting them in locations that have not necessarily a high. When you mentioned about the 400 disc golf members that we have at Edgar, and then that was maybe 2,000 or whatever. I don't necessarily think it's the member or not necessarily the amount of people in that area, but it's locating a store next to a high amount of courses. And I think that's why the problem I think that's why we're dropping brick and mortar stores in Canada, is because we don't have the courses for people to go and play. And I think maybe that's why Gander closed down before JK or Limber, was because it seems like Calgary has a lot more courses to play than Edmonton does. So we will be able to sustain brick and mortar stores when we have enough places for people to go and play. And I think I was trying to do the math. I was trying to find out. All I found out is that Canada has 872 courses, and among those, 354 are 18 or more holes.
Okay.
And if you look at a map, and if you think about it, Ace Runners, and there's another one I'm trying to think of as well that's in BC, but I can't think of it right now. But why is my mind gone a blank now? What are there's another. There's just not only a distributor, but there's another big store in Ontario.
Disc Republic.
Was in
No,
is
Disc Republic's
Manitoba.
in Manitoba. I forget the name of it now. But because if you look at where the biggest amount of courses are, and the high level courses are in BC and they're in Ontario. In the prairies and Edmonton and such, we have courses, but we don't have top level like when you look at Raptors Knoll, it's in BC. When you look at Hope Goat, Project 15, they're out in Ontario. Clearwater, all the courses that they have, the pro level A tier courses are not situated in the smaller areas where we are.
Right.
So if we don't have high level courses, why would we have a disc golf store? People are not going to come to a disc golf store to buy discs just to go out and play the hills.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's the point I'm trying to get at. I know it kind of went around the houses to get
You
there.
got there. You got
But
there.
disc golf stores will survive if there's a high level of courses, not necessarily a high level amount of players.
Right.
Agree or disagree?
Like imagine you had a Wetaskiwin course in Wetaskiwin and Leduc and Camrose and Beaumont
Yes.
or something, and you had a store in Beaumont, and you're within, say, half an hour of like 4 or 5 18-hole courses. People are going to travel there to play disc golf, and while they're there, they'll stop at your store.
Yeah.
I think so, but I think
people don't. You might travel to Edmonton to play disc golf, but to go to all the different courses and stop at a store, it's quite a ways away and quite a rigmarole to do that.
Yeah.
right. I think the other thing that I was going to say when I just click on it here, you think about Aspen Meadows, one of the top rated courses in Canada. Aspen Meadows, East, West, Raptors Knoll, Project 15, Hope Go, all these professional level courses. If you had a couple of courses like that around Edmonton or Beaumont or Wetaskiwin, then you're going to drive that traffic. People are going to come from further around to play those courses. If you just had a Wetaskiwin, which I think is a great course, but it's nowhere near pro quality, and the Hills and Leduc and a Beaumont course, that's not enough to sustain a brick and mortar store. I don't think it's got to be a high level course.
One big one, like one
Right.
MVP, like say one Maple Hill or one Raptors Knoll, sponsored or followed, surrounded by 3 or 4 18-hole courses that were decent. That might be what it would be.
Yeah, and I'm thinking too.
And then you'd
now,
also
go ahead.
Notice how I also put that not in a huge population area. Like that's not in Edmonton. That's in somewhere where, say, you're by Wetaskiwin or by whatever smaller town where the rent is $1,500 for your space or something instead of $3,000 for your space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm thinking
that cuts your expenses in half right now.
Yeah. Right. And I think another thing is, as you said, is be successful by cutting expenses. That was what you started this conversation off with, was you said keep your overhead low. So let's take a look and continue with Edmonton. Is Edga is looking to take on the trail house space at Rundle. Rundle is the most popular course in the summer. It's, that's the one place that you're likely going to be waiting to tee off on hole 1. So it was like, if you could have a section of that space that maybe you can gate off and lock up when you're not there, and every Saturday morning you've got it open and you've got the starter sets on the shelf for the people who are just hanging out in the park for the first time, and you got some of the latest drops that people might be interested in trying. I'm thinking that's a way, that as well as in Calgary, if you had a little shop set up right at Baker Park, that's the type of area where you can probably make enough of a business to keep buying discs and keep opening every day. 2
things on that. I always thought that when I thought about Gander, I thought that they were great because they were near Nor'Wester, but really you've got Hermitage and Rundle, like you said. If you had a disc golf store on 118 Ave or Victoria Trail, somewhere around right next to those 2 popular courses, then you're going to show up to the course, lose your favorite disc. I'm just going to run up the street and buy a replacement, or I got this new disc, I want to go there and try it out. But in the chat here, we just like to bring in the chat as well. When I said agree or disagree, Dylan said he agrees.
Okay.
So that's 1-0 to me, Jeremy.
All right.
And then he also said if he was ever considering going to Gander, he would make sure he played Nor'Wester too, considering the drive it was. So yeah, if he's going to make the trek to go to Gander, he may as well play a course while he's out that way, right?
Yeah, so get him close. I think the closer together the course and that, and even too, is when Disc Republic, as Jason was saying, he moved from the basement to the next business to the next place. Where is the latest one that he's at? It's like kitty corner to Happy Land Disc Golf, the most popular pitch and putt in the Manitoba area or in the Winnipeg area. So there has to be something about the closer you get to where I can play, the more I'm going to have an opportunity to support you.
To support that argument, Jeremy, Dylan in the chat said he had a guy at a shop in the back of his van when he was at Angry Beaver in Charlotte. Yeah. You can't get any closer to that. He said buckets and bins of discs laid around the parking lot right next to hole 1.
Well, that's also low overhead right there. That also satisfies Brendan's comment.
Yeah.
I think 100%. Like if say you had the trail house, even if Edgo didn't want to deal with selling stuff, if they say, okay, if you rent up the trail house for $100 for Saturday or something to Wildman or me or JK or whoever to come set up, you can set up, you can lock up your discs, you can set up the night before, announce to everyone, I want to be here all day Saturday for whatever your $100 is. Even if you do that a couple of weekends, month, say it's a couple $100 instead of paying $3,000 for rent somewhere, and everyone still has plenty of opportunity to come check out everything you have, and you can still set it up and lock it up without having to go set up a trailer and stay outside.
Yeah, because it's really at that point, it's not that many discs you need to sell to cover your cost and then start actually selling product and make money. And at a place like Rundle in the summer, there's enough people coming through that you're going to get past just the tire kickers and actually get buyers as well.
It's almost like being a hipster and setting
to everyone that you're going to be there. Like,
yeah. I was going to say, it's almost like being a hipster and going to a farmer's market and setting up at a farmer's market on a weekend.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to take all your beard oil products and your guacamoles and your hand linens that you've made or whatever and take them to the stall, set up a stall and stand there all weekend and sell your products, What's the difference of loading them up in buckets and bins and taking them to hole one and setting up there for the weekend?
Yeah, just have to have the space and the
Time and
the vehicle and all that to do it with.
Yeah.
So
that's the other thing, right? Yeah.
no, that's interesting.
Cut down
with
on overheads by having limited amount of space in your vehicle to actually take all that product with you and have it laid out on the grass or buckets or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think too, Brendan, is another thing that people probably don't realize, and maybe you can shed some light on it, is that in Canada, when you come to having discs, and if you really want to be in the game and you want the next hot drop in that, you can't always get it in time for the drop, and people want it the day it comes out. And I think some disc manufacturers have that figured out more than others. And in the US, they're getting them, but in Canada, even though we're right above the border, it's not coming in as quickly. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. They are definitely. I think they're getting the feedback from Canadian stores that we're not getting it in time to sell out, or some places also allow you to pre-sale so that people, if they're not concerned about having exactly a specific color or whatever, they can still know they're getting one. They don't have to order it somewhere else. So that's part of it as well. It is also nice for Canadians to know, like, this is how much a box is going to cost shipped from this person, as opposed to I'm ordering this from the States. I don't know how much they're going to charge me for imports and customs and all that. So.
Right. Do you get any messages on that note? Like, do you ever get someone say, "Oh, I'm looking for the Jeremy Colling Tempo in 175, but I want it in the pink fuchsia, not in the yellow or the like"? Do people get that specific? Are they looking for that specific disc, or do you find that if somebody wants the new Tempo, and you only have the blue and the pink online in 180 or whatever it might be? That, I mean, I guess you don't know if they're buying it. You don't know what their reasoning for buying it was. But, like, do you get messages asking for specific color, specific weights?
I get for sure, like, or even like specific foils. Like some people say, "Oh, I want the taxi foil, and I want the oil slick foil, and I want the honey foil." So there's people that want that specifically for that. But I think generally that's more people look online too. Yeah, if they don't have it, they move along to someone else. If they're looking for something specific.
Right.
Yeah. And you don't really have much control over that portion, or do some manufacturers give you better control than others that you can put some request in? Or is it you get, 25% are going to be some nice quality good discs, and then 75% are going to be whatever the heck we give you? Like, how does that work out?
If you have a manufacturer like Castaplast, when they have, say, like 7 color choices or something that the discs come in, then you can often pick. Say, I want the green, poison green, bird, or whatever. But if you're ordering like an ESP disc from Discraft, you're just getting what you're getting, especially when it's plastic like that, where it's just a mix of, say, 2 or 3 colors.
Right.
Yeah. And that's it. And then it doesn't help too that the disc golf manufacturers want to stay in business. And so what's the way they stay in business is by selling more discs.
Yeah.
So then we get more color combinations and we get more disc types. And then, as you say, and then more foils. I was just thinking of stamps, but then you get the foils of the stamps and the colors of the discs and the weights of the discs. It's just like there's so
many different combinations.
Many. Yeah. You have a whole cart just on your shelf that's behind you just for show purposes almost.
It's just decoration. This is
I would say that generally speaking, I think only the stuff I get from Infinite and the stuff I get from House of Discs, I have any control over color whatsoever on, pretty much.
Okay.
Right. Well, Dylan's in the chat here, and he said his Wonder Bread foil is one that his buddy collects.
Oh, is always Wonder Bread?
Yeah, always Wonder Bread. Sure. Yeah. And he also said that
the hottest foil would be Wonder Bread. Sure.
Really? Yeah. Okay. He said that he went down to he got to play the Camrose course for the first time this summer.
Oh, nice.
And while he was down there, he got to stop in at BR too, because it was just down the road. So
there you go.
Dylan supporting Brendan BR. Yeah, being next to the course.
Hopefully we'll get that store stocked up a bit more this next year here. So I know last year we had a bit less selection, but hopefully we'll get at least that one. Our kind of goal for that store is kind of say have like a big selection of maybe Innova, Discraft, and maybe just like 3 or 4 main brands, whereas online you'll see more of however many brands are up to now, like 15 or 20 brands. Just because you can't afford to have all those choices and keep track of all that stock in the store and then train all that staff on all those different options as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a question that might sound like common sense when I say it, but I know it's coming from a place of in my brain I don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So we see Isaac going to Latitude 64. Prior to him going to Latitude 64, obviously we have players that are already there, but since he went there, do you see an influx in Latitude 64 discs and not any of his specific stamps or ones that he shouted out? Like, do you just see, does he lift the whole brand?
I don't know. I think maybe like people that are fans of that person would go there.
Right.
Like I think maybe you see Thomas go to Thought Space. Maybe you see more Thought Space move a little bit.
Right.
That's a small increase on maybe the biggest player in Canada.
Right.
Or Chantal Budinsky. Like maybe she moves the needle a tiny bit. But I don't know. If you see like when you see Paul Macbeth go to Discraft, okay, maybe you see a little bit bump there.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing was like when he went to Discraft and then also Brody started building his bag with Discraft, they had all those videos online.
Yeah.
I know that's when I was really starting to get into Discraft. So I looked at all those videos. Okay, Brody's building his bag. I'm going to kind of follow along and build my bag the similar way they're building theirs. So then I follow along with that, and then I just started doing Discraft this, Discraft that.
Right.
So I think whatever, like, just like when you saw, I can't remember his name, with Latitude 64, when he started Jonathan with the fuse and all that sort of stuff. Like that was a huge thing for a lot more Latitude 64 because that's people are watching. That's what they're familiar with. They see how this new player, like to Brody Smith, sure he's a new player to disc golf, but he has like crazy arm speed and all this other stuff. Whereas Jonathan's a new player, huge YouTube presence, you can follow along. Same with when Danny was making all those videos for
Dynamic,
double, like
or
ATB.
Yeah.
Like all this physics of fight and all that stuff. Like you'd see, oh, I watched this video and I saw this. Like because there was such a huge following for people watching this stuff specifically, and it showed the science and showed for a new player this level.
Yeah.
I think that's what you almost see move it more than just a pro going.
Yeah, like as you're saying, I think it becomes down to being a pro isn't going to do it. Being a really good pro, it might help, but it is being what is your presence, because Jonathan isn't a pro by any means, but I will watch every one of his videos because they're always amazing. And, does that influence me? I don't know that I've bought a bunch of Lat 64. I like Latitude 64, but it hasn't been because of that. But it does get me paying attention, that's for sure.
I'm just thinking like Big Germ has gone to MVP. So people that like Big Germ when he was at Innova, he's now gone to MVP. Are people going to be like, oh, Big Germ's gone to MVP? Yeah, he's got his tempo. But are people going to be like, oh, I've heard a lot about that Crave. Oh, you know what? A Hex I've heard a lot about. Oh, it's Insanity. And like buying other discs from that manufacturer just because that player went there.
Right.
So
the other thing is like, say Nate Sexton goes to Discraft tomorrow, Tim's not going to go buy a whole bunch of Raptors or whatever.
Right.
Throw in the Firebird. Maybe if Nate Sexton releases one whatever, Tim will go try that disc out, but he's not going to trade in his entire Firebird collection just because his favorite player switched manufacturers.
No,
right.
That's a case where that player can't leave. It's the opposite way. It's like you can't leave because you will lose your name, but your discs will stay behind, type thing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the only other thing I was thinking with discs there, Brendan, when we were talking, there's that other approach to it that the manufacturer can do, like Thought Space, due to the nature of the time they have with the molding machines and that type of thing. They've done really well because, I like my mantras, but if I like that alien mantra, there is one run of that alien mantra, and then after that you've got to chase them down and find them. So maybe that helps the secondary market more than it helps the primary market, but that's another strategy because there's one or two stamps in a year, and then you've got the number of plastics, so it starts to narrow down things.
Yeah, like especially during COVID when there was a shortage where they'd make whatever specific disc, like, oh, I need that run. Like say like the Crystal Roach or whatever that Brody released or whatever. people are hopping on at that time. Like, oh, I only want the crystal roach of this.
Yeah.
You go and you buy like 3 or 4, but then there's a fine line where Discraft starts saying, I don't know, like say he releases a Crystal Buzz SS, whatever, and everyone wants it. But they release 200,000 of those discs and only sell like 150,000, and everyone buys like 3, and then they're like, oh, actually, there's still a bunch more. Yeah, I don't need to buy 10 like I bought 10 of whatever the other disc was because I knew they were going to run out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the manufacturers, like, they want to have perceived shortage, but they also need it to actually be a shortage, or else people stop overbuying just because they want that disc for the future.
Yeah, and they don't want to cut it too short and then miss out on a bunch of opportunities to sell as well, right? It's like, oh yeah, well we said 150, but we could have easily sold 100 or 200, and we lost out on that extra 50,000 of discs.
Like when Conrad takes a miracle shot and then MVP is behind forever, like a year, say, trying to catch up on that one disc.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, obviously that's hard to plan for, but that's the spot where they're just churning them out. But at least then they know, like, when it's out, it's sold, it's sold, it's sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now we're at the point where they have so many of those people aren't buying a million NBs because they know they can get another one, whatever store the next day.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's an interesting point from Dylan, and I think I watched this as also in that video that I watched the Ganon video today as well. Discmania Tour players are no longer allowed to throw Innova-made Discmania discs, which were very sought after. So you mentioned about those, looking for that
rare
specific run.
runs.
Yeah. I
saw Casey had a video posted on that where he had to go basically replace half his bag because all the discs that he used to throw.
Yeah, that's exactly what Dylan just said. Yeah. Casey White and Ganon both replacing a good half of their bag now. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I got one other one for you when we talk about the disc golf stores, and we've seen the success in the US of another round. Do you think Joseph takes a stab and tries to go to Toronto and be near Toronto Island or bring another round to Canada? Is that something that you would foresee in the future?
I don't know. It's a lot of work to go across the border.
Yeah.
Just all dealing with the whole another way of stuff. I think maybe he could maybe partner with a store in Canada to have
like BR Disc Golf.
Like BR Disc Golf. Someone in bigger popular areas, like whatever, like say the culmination of all those other things we talked about. Just to partner with someone that already knows everything and just say, like, we'll sell you the name basically.
Yeah.
And business plan. You probably source your own discs and whatever else, and like a franchise fee almost. Like I think that'd be the only way to go.
I think that's what he's doing now.
Get your own distributors for all the discs and stuff anyway.
Yeah. And he's got such a good online presence, like you said about buying the name or whatever, purchasing the name. But like we've seen before about him putting out the Ace Run Challenge in his area. Mm-hmm. Well, next thing you know is somebody else is putting the Ace Run Challenge out in their area. Mm-hmm. So not only do you get the benefit of having another round disc golf store, but also you're part of that social media group. Mm-hmm. Any tournaments, any shorts, videos, whatever, posts, they're all getting shared among that area.
Well, I would think
that group.
I'm thinking too, as you said, you have to find your own way to distribute discs and everything else. But in his model, if you're going to get big enough and have enough stores and enough clout, then maybe in that franchise model, it also probably gives you some priority when you do go to order discs to get some of those Wonder Bread foils, or at least to make sure some of them are coming through your store, because they're going to listen to whoever's got the most money, I'm thinking at that point, right? I'd like 12 discs. Can you make sure all 12 are Wonder Bread foil? Or if you go up and you're like, yeah, no, I need like 1,200 of that disc and I want 100 of them Wonder Bread foil, maybe you've got a bigger stick to work on there. But
yeah, that's true. I don't know exactly how their model's set up for ordering and stuff, but I know that also, like, at least how manufacturers are set up right now, like, they'll say, okay, we'll guarantee every store a minimum of 10 of these discs, so that, Infinite's going to get 1,000, but at least every other store is going to get 10. So I think that's something that most manufacturers are trying to prioritize and stuff right now. Generally.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's good. And I think we saw some of that happen, because even Dennis Griffard up in Clearwater, when he did his Gyropaloozas, he ended up getting a golden ticket in one of his boxes, he had said as well. So at least we're seeing that there wasn't with something like that, it would have been truly random, and it wasn't, we're only sending these to these stores.
Yeah. That's the way you always think it, right?
Yeah. That's a good thing that way. What about on the BR front, as we're talking to you, and you are the owner of BR Disc Golf? Is there anything that we should kind of bring up about BR that people should be watching for this year?
I don't know. We're going to try to get some more events this year. I know, trying to increase our online presence. A lot of people, I find, that they think would know about us, don't know about us anyway. So just trying to get our name out there a little bit more. Hopefully, getting out in person is for sure the best way to sell discs. It just also happens to be summertime when I want to spend time with my family. So
yeah,
fair enough.
Definitely like the biggest hurdle for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have not any huge plans as of right now, but hopefully, definitely getting some more stuff set up in the store in Camrose, and then
yeah, and one of the things it looks like you're doing too when we were checking out the website is that you're kind of going into the mystery box side. Is that something, have you found some success with that so far?
I think some people, definitely a lot of people in groups, like when you get a gift card and you say you saved up 10 or 20 or 30 or $40 worth of gift cards and you don't know what to do because you already have a full bag of mystery boxes. Interesting way to go and look and see, get a mix. And if you want to send me a message towards, maybe you like the foil or maybe you like a specific brand, kind of like tailor those towards people. So I've definitely done that a little bit too as well.
Yeah. But I know that's one of the things that was appealed to you and to me about the gyro boxes is there was an element of knowing a little bit of what you might get.
Yeah.
But then also the fun of the surprise, and like anything else is, oh, I didn't get it this time. So there's a little bit of disappointment sometimes. And other times you're like, look what I got. There is something about that.
Yeah. It's like that holy disc that you got, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dylan asked in the chat, any more BR whale sacks?
Probably should order some, yeah. We've been sold out for a while. Either whale sacks or there's a few other companies that offer some pretty good custom kind of your products. So we'll take a look at it this year and get up in group wise and custom anyway.
Cool.
There you go.
Well, I think what we've done, Brendan, we've done a great conversation on that, and now you get to test your luck against Daryl. Daryl is 1 win and 1 loss and 1 tie at Disc Golf Jeopardy. So I did mention earlier, too, that Amber Chason kind of inspired me. So we're going to see what the difficulty level will be for this one for you, too. But we're going to, we're see. We went all the way down to $0 in your tie.
Well, I've learned my lesson this time.
Okay. All right. So we'll see what's happening. So Daryl's going to pull up our Disc Golf Jeopardy, and we're going to do some conversation here and tell you a little bit about it. I'll read some topics off. So we're going to get our screen all shared up here.
We're getting there.
All
Technology.
right. Yeah, there you go. So for our Disc Golf Jeopardy around the basket, I don't know if you're going to have to shrink it or move it down just a little bit there, my friend.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, all right. So you're back to the board here. Okay. So what we have is Alberta FPOs is our first category. We've got Calgary courses. So you can see where maybe there was that tie to Amber Chase on there. We've
Latitude 64 Royal
Latitude
Discs.
64 Royal Discs. And then we were trying to give Daryl a bit of a reprieve there from that one. So there's Innova Discs, which I think I should have had Discraft in here for Brendan. And then we have 2024 BR Ambassadors. So that's where I kind of got one in there for you to help you out there. Hopefully that's one that we can focus on. And I think you're just missing left and right there. But so with that being said, I think it's probably time for Brendan to go first. So Brendan, with these categories we've got, and what dollar amount would you like to go for? Oh, sorry. Last thing I'll explain to you is you're going to have a chance to guess. If you get it right, you get that dollar amount. If you get it wrong, Daryl's going to guess for the chance to get that dollar amount, and then we'll switch and the other person. So then it would be Daryl's turn to start. So we'll go with you first. So which one would you like to choose?
Can you see all the categories there now, Brendan?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
Let's get crazy and go right to Innova Discs for 300.
Innova Discs 300.
I'm not confident.
All right, Daryl, click on 300. What do we got here? We have the best, and this is stuff that I borrowed right from the site, so it was accurate.
Oh, boy.
The best all-around golf disc. Very accurate disc for drives and approach shots. You can even putt with it.
Why do you need the description if you're going to give the flight numbers?
Because this isn't disc dull. This is a description with this. So what disc do you think that one is?
I should know this, but I don't know if I do. I'm going to go with the Rock.
With the Rock. And Daryl, what would you say?
Yeah.
I'm going to say the Rock as well.
Okay, so that we always have to have a backup answer just in case.
Because Jeremy doesn't know what the answer is.
I do, but I did it. All right, so we click. It was actually the shark.
Oh,
Well, this is where this might fall down here.
This came from Innova's website directly.
Right. But you could say that description about any disc in a 4402.
Well, then you should talk to Innova because they didn't call the Rock the same description.
All right.
Fair
enough.
Okay, your choice. So
My
300's
choice?
gone.
All right. Well, I'm going Innova disc for 500.
For 500, you're going straight to the big one.
Straight to the big ones.
Okay, go ahead. Overmold mid-range with a small amount of high-speed turn and very little fade. 5401.
What is the Atlas?
And as a backup that I don't think you're going to need there, Brendan, do you have a backup guess?
what is my son's name? Atlas.
Okay, so there we go. Yes, it is the
In the
Atlas.
XT plastic.
Daryl has $500 on the board. Brendan, it's back to you.
Let's keep going in that category. Let's go 400.
Innova for 400. Okay. Flies flat and straight, a low profile, point and shoot, easy to release. That should be putt and approach disc, not a put and approach disc. 1300.
I cannot remember what this disc is called.
I'll give you a clue. There's 3 one-speed discs that Innova makes.
I know, and I can't remember them. Is it the Birdie?
Oh, one is called the Birdie.
It is not the Birdie. Daryl?
Well, I'm going to say... Well, what is the Polecat?
Take a look and let's see. The Polecat is correct. So Daryl is...
Yeah.
Daryl, you're at $900.
The other one-speed is the Sonic. But I
Oh.
think that's 1.6. I'm not sure.
All right. So Daryl, are you going with 200 Innova discs or where are you going?
Yeah, let's finish out. Let's go 200 Innova discs.
Okay. Fast, stable power driver with significant glide. A great disc for a sidearm thrower with lots of power. 12.5 minus 1.3.
See, I'm not really... all I'm doing is looking at the numbers now because I'm throwing it back to disc dull. But I'm going to say, what is the Destroyer?
Yes, that would be correct. And so that's going to give you $1,100. It's his... Don't worry too much at this point, Brendan, because this is his column. After that, he's going to struggle.
You've got 2024 BR ambassadors, which hopefully you know a lot about.
So where would you like to go, Brendan? We've got 100 left on Innova discs or any other category.
Oh, I'm going to jump to 2024 BR ambassadors for $400.
For 400. Lived internationally for school while on the team.
What is Jonas Stolpot?
What is...
Who is Jonas Stolpot? Yes. There you go. So that's going to get you $400 and on the board. Daryl, where would you like to go?
I'm going to take one Innova for 100.
Yeah, you just want to polish her off, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know I might be able to get these.
Overstable distance driver, our most popular upwind distance driver, Tim Plamondon, 9304.
What's his name in there for? Is that a quote on the Innova website?
It's because it's a $100 question.
We didn't need the Timplamonted. What is a Firebird?
That would be correct.
You didn't even use a picture of a Nate Sexton Firebird.
I used the picture I wanted to use.
Okay. Back to you, Brendan.
Let's go BR ambassadors for 400.
Okay, 400 you already did, so you have all 4 of the other ones.
Jonas Stolpot.
500.
500?
500?
I gotta catch up a little bit on my cash here.
Okay. Could be considered the team's coach or youth ambassador. These clues are from me, by the way. This is my interpretation.
Yes, I've noticed because that could definitely be too. I'm gonna say that you're talking about Mr. Pisca.
Yes, you are correct. Gabe Piska
Who
would
is
be the
who
right
is Gabe
answer.
Piska?
Yeah, right answer. And you are $900, only 300 behind now. Daryl, where would you like to go?
Let's go Alberta FPOs for 100.
Alberta FPOs for 100. Okay. So it brings lots of energy, has an infectious laugh.
Well, the energy. Okay, well, I'm going to say, who is Miss Terry Hong?
You are correct, Miss Terry Hong. And that brings it right back to you, Brendan.
Let's do Alberta FPOs for 200.
For 200, okay. Social media machine, fully recovered and ready for the 2025 season.
Who is Miss Terry Hong?
I have completely blanked on her name. So I have the sound of it. Oh, I know who it is.
That's one of those
ran out
things.
completely off.
Any guess
It was
will do.
there, and then it went away. I can't describe it. It doesn't count. Joe Henderson.
You are correct. Right before the buzzer was going to go, Joe Henderson is the correct answer I was looking for.
In the form of a question, I don't.
Who is Joe Henderson? Yes. So it's $1,100 for you, Brendan. $1,300 for Daryl.
Wow.
Where would you like to go?
Alberta FPOs for 300.
All right. Throws the disc far. Recent graduate. U of A college disc golfer.
I have no evidence that this person throws this disc really far, but the other two clues would lead me to say, who is Zoe Lorenz-Bozer?
You are correct, sir. So that was $300 for you, bringing you up to $1,600. The board is yours, Brendan.
I will do Alberta FPOs for 400.
Ooh, for 400. PDGA member since 2016. 2024, she's up first winner. 2024 Falcons Flight FP40 winner. Again, when I was thinking Amber Chason, I was thinking she'd know these ones. But I was getting them a little harder.
Mm.
I should know this.
Well, I was there, so
Yeah, well, I was there as well, so I know who won.
Well, your memory's not that
hang
good.
on.
Your memory's not the best.
No, I do remember who it is.
All right, Brendan, we're going to have to ask for an answer here.
I don't know. It's not Kristen Swirls. It's an FPO though.
Okay. No, Kristen Swirls would have been the right answer for the TD.
Mm-hmm.
Daryl, what would you say?
I'm going to say, who is Jody Rooney?
You are correct, and that's going to put you to $2,000. Brendan, you're still at $1,100, and it's Daryl's turn to choose. We have 500 for FPOs.
Let's
if you
go
want to continue there.
Alberta FPOs for 500.
Okay. 881 rated, left-handed. Amazing.
Well, we just had somebody on the podcast that said that they almost got to 900 rated, and they are a left-handed person. And I'm thinking the reason why you called them amazing, because might just well be, who is Amber Chason?
You are correct. It would be
You
Amber
can't give
Chason.
somebody.
What? I can't give somebody what?
If this had been for Amber,
Yes.
you gave her a question about herself.
Why not?
Okay.
She's an Alberta FPO. She
Okay,
qualifies.
fair enough.
All right, we're going back to you, Brendan. We have all of Calgary courses available, Lat 64 Royal Discs, and we have 100 through 300 for 2024 BR ambassadors.
I will try 300. 2024 BR ambassadors.
All right. $300 answer is started the University of Alberta's first disc golf team.
I'm just going to copy another answer because I have no idea, but I'm going to go with who is Zoe Lorenz-Bozer.
You are correct. Look
You're
at
not
that.
supposed to have the same question, the answer twice.
Well, when you do this over 2 days late at night, sometimes these things happen.
Okay, fair enough. I'll give you that.
Daryl, go ahead.
Let's go Latitude 64 Royal Discs for 200.
You're going to start, not even at 100. All right, good luck,
It was
sir.
just a random.
Blank is how you make dreams come true. Medium, deep, beadless putter, buttery smooth rim, 2301.
Latitude 64. Okay, this is totally out of my wheelhouse now, Brendan. A Latitude 64 putter.
A royal putter.
Oh, does
You,
that...
these are only royal discs. I tried to narrow it down because
Yeah.
also with Amber in mind, I'm like, if someone knows
what
these,
is the hope?
that is correct because hope is how you make dreams come
Oh,
true.
okay, I get it
That
now.
was how they put that on there.
Well, there you go. I pulled that one out.
So you're at $2,700. We're back to Brendan. Brendan, you're at $1,400. You've still got 100 and 200 of BR ambassadors, or all of Calgary courses and most of the Royal Discs.
Sure, I'll try. That was 100 of Royal Discs.
200. So
I'll try
100,
300.
300.
Okay, 300 for Royal Discs. Is built to crush distance with ease. Good enough for Isaac. That was my ad. 13503.5.
I believe this is the Rive. What is the Rive?
Yes, you are correct, and that's going to get you some more money on the board, bringing you up to $1,700, just 1,000 behind.
That's not.
Daryl.
Is that the Royal Disc there?
That was I chose the Rive.
So
Rive is also royal, but I chose
A different picture.
his picture because that was the clue.
Let's go.
You're very picky about my answers here.
They're not correlating. Okay, let's go Latitude for 100.
All right, Royal Discs 100, a fairway driver that will surprise you with its sneaky distance, built upon the design of our acclaimed Explorer 76-12. And this one will require a
This is
guess from
100?
both of you.
This is the 100 question. 7-6 -12 in Royal Latitude 64. I am going to go with what is the saint?
Okay, and the backup answer from Brendan?
I'm gonna take it. I'm running out of. I'm gonna go with the Brave.
The Brave. Let's take a look here.
Oh,
It is the
I
Brave.
thought the Brave was a 6-speed.
Nope.
Nice
So,
steal.
$1,800 there. And Brendan, your choice for the next one?
I will do the next one down on Royal Discs.
All right, that'll be
400.
400. You cannot have a healthy relationship with your disc without it. This workhorse mid-range is a stable straight shooter, 5502.
I am running out of names, but I'm going to guess the Savior.
That is going to be incorrect. Daryl?
You cannot have a healthy relationship with your disc without it. I'm going to say yeah, I'm running out as well now, Brendan. Oh, what is the trust?
And let's take a look to show that, yes, it is the Trust. That was a good one. That was another one where they kind of hid the answer in the question.
See, that's a royal trust.
Yes, that is a Royal Trust. You can see that. So, Daryl, where would you like to be?
Is it me?
Yes.
Oh, well, let's go 500. No, let's give Brendan a chance to catch up. Let's go BR for 200.
Oh, you're going to take his questions from him.
He
Perfect.
He took my
Okay.
Innova.
So 200. Recently played in Japan.
Japan. That would be who is Dan Dupree's.
That is correct. Dan Dupree's. And then back to you, Brendan.
And Texas.
And
yeah.
Texas. Yeah, maybe not very recently. In the last year recently.
I played Japan like 2 months ago, maybe.
You did?
Yeah. He's in Texas now. No,
Oh, he did, yeah.
Yeah. So it was. He's just saying it was recent, just not that recent.
Right.
Yeah. So you have 100 left for BR ambassadors, 500 left for.
Let's try to steal is Royal Discs for 500.
All right, Royal Discs for 500. Distance Driver is the perfect blend of precision and power. Smooth, dependable throws for players of all skill levels. 11.6 -1.2.
I only have 2 discs left from the lineup that I remember. I am going to guess that this is the Grace.
The Grace.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we can go and take a look. And you know what's something that's quite a good win on that one? That's $500. That gets you back to 1,000 away. One of the things, and I know that I'm probably late to the party for this,
Yeah.
but Kristen getting married and then changing her last name to Silvers, so it's Kristen Lat of Latitude 64.
Changing
Lat
your name
64?
to Lat, not Silver.
Yeah, from like, yeah.
From Tatar.
No, like
to
Silver as in,
Silver's
now that
the-
she's married, that's Silver's last name, right?
Lat, yeah.
Yeah. So Lat
Oh.
and Lat 64.
Right, yeah.
Like I'm that late to the table.
Sorry.
Okay, so we are back to Daryl. Where would you like to go, Daryl?
Calgary courses for 100.
All right, Calgary courses for 100. One of the most played courses in all of Canada.
One of the.
It is. It's not always.
So, well, don't say one of the. It is the most, or is it one of the?
It's
Because
one
I
of
could
the.
say, what is Aspen Meadows West?
It's not one of the most played courses.
Yeah,
in
it is.
Canada.
It's one of them.
Nope.
Is
you,
it?
you know what's going to be fun? You're doing Disc Golf Jeopardy questions next week.
It's one of the most played. Well, I would still say what is Aspen Meadows.
You are incorrect. It's not in Calgary. So go ahead there, Mr. Brendan.
What is
Oh, Calgary.
Fresh out of the oven baker?
Yes,
Oh,
you
yes.
are totally correct. Daryl
I
is
totally,
trying to beat me up here.
I totally messed up on that.
Brendan, go right ahead.
But you didn't have a good question either.
Gosh, the foil though. I will go. I'll clean off the Ambassadors for 100.
Okay, sounds good. The captain.
The captain, also previously perhaps mentioned the one, the only, Terry Hall.
You are correct. Get you to $2,500. You're closing that gap. Daryl, you are got 200.
Calgary courses for 200.
Yes. What did you think it was? Alberta?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Calgary. Joe Henderson's home course.
What is Forest Lawn?
Yes, that would be correct. You're at $3,500. Back to your 1,000 lead. This goes back to you, Brendan. Which would you like to try there? 300 to 500?
I will try 300.
Oh, gonna stick with 3. Okay. It used to be a City of Calgary public golf course.
I am so lost on Calgary disc golf courses.
Yeah, me and you both. I know the names of them, but I don't know.
There's so many people from Calgary watching who are just like, come on, it's
You
so
don't know this?
easy.
That's true. I feel like Langholm is a course in Calgary. Is that true?
No, that would be incorrect. That would be one in St. Albert.
Is that your guess?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna say, what is DRM?
that is also incorrect.
Yeah. Okay.
Curry Reservoir was the answer we were looking for.
Heard of it, never played it, never seen it, didn't know that it was a public course. But
I was
okay.
going to say, I've been down there, I've played it, and I just assume everybody knows what I know.
Calgary courses for 400.
All right. Top of the world shot, it has baskets, but also antique farm items as targets.
Well, I think we did just bring this up with Amber Chase on Sawa. This is what I'm going to say is, what is DRM?
No, can we pass that over to Brendan? And this is where I should say I took little liberty because Calgary has a couple courses that are in the vicinity. So
Let's throw it to.
Well, I know what it is
This one I
now.
actually know. This is one of very few I know. WJ Homestead, perhaps.
yes, you are correct. WJ Homestead. That puts you at $2,900. And we are down to the last question, and it goes to Brendan for $500. It is windy here. Your discs may find themselves. Daryl's laughing. That's cracking us up here.
Sorry.
May find themselves on Stony Trail.
That DRM.
Yes,
The
David
one-
Richardson Memorial. You've got it. And with that,
The one that I answered for every other question apart from the one that actually it was.
So listen to this,
I have a
gentlemen.
short-term memory, but it was long enough.
Yeah.
This was such a heated battle where Daryl was just like nailing it and hammering you with points. And then at the very end, with those last little scoops you did, you brought it within 100 points. So we're at 3,500 to 3,400. It doesn't get closer than this. This is the most exciting podcasting you could ever hear. So we have to go to Final Jeopardy. And the way this one works is what's going to happen is Daryl's going to secretly tell me how much he's going to bet once we reveal the Final Jeopardy topic. Then you're going to out loud tell me, and I'll write that down. And then the same thing will happen with the answers. Daryl will give me his secret answer, and then you will give me yours, and we'll see where we go from there. So let's reveal the Final Jeopardy category, yes. Canadian disc golf history. Again, this is knowledge that I have that I'm expecting you have.
Okay.
Daryl, how much would you like to bet? All right, Daryl has put in his bet. What would you like to bet there, Brendan?
I will bet
Or wager.
$101.
101.
Oh, we're playing strategic.
$101. Okay, sounds good. So let's reveal.
Do we tell him how much I bet?
No, we don't tell him. Well, I guess we can.
Because I know how much he bet. It doesn't really matter if he...
Oh, at that point. Okay,
Or, yeah, I guess.
So Daryl was kind of following your lead there, and he's bet $3,500. Sorry, 100 of his $3,500.
100. I went 100. You went 101.
Also strategic.
Yeah,
I've learned my lesson.
But listen,
well, it's funny because the first episode I think we played, I was like, okay, how much do I bet? 50 or 60 or whatever it was, and somebody was like, I forget who the first person we had on was now.
The first person
we did Jeopardy with.
We did Jeopardy with Colleen. We did Jeopardy with Dina. We did Jeopardy with...
I think it might have been Sam in the chat was like, yeah, how much of this imaginary money do you bet? Like, there's no strategy to it, but yet we're coming down to like, okay.
All right, you got to click to see the question.
Let me bring you up.
And the question for this one is, according to Parked Pro, this province is the earliest known birthplace of disc golf in Canada. 500 bonus points I'm offering if you can guess the city.
Is that a Jeopardy rule, is it?
This is a Jeremy Disc Golf Jeopardy rule. So Daryl,
this province is the earliest known birthplace of disc golf in Canada. 500 points if you guess the city.
Yes. So,
Okay.
And I'm not going to take points away if you get the city wrong. It's just an opportunity to earn extra money. So if you want to put in your province.
Oh.
You want me to write this down?
Well, you'll be able to just tell us. So Daryl's put down his province now, and he's putting in his city as his bonus guess. All right. And then, Brendan, can you let us know what province you believe is the correct answer?
Saskatchewan.
Ooh, Saskatchewan. And for your bonus guess for the city?
Saskatoon. Incorrect.
Saskatoon. All right. Well,
Toronto.
I am Toronto, Saskatchewan.
Toronto, Saskatchewan. I just want to quickly, while we've got, if anyone in the chat wants to put their guess in before we reveal the answer, but.
Yeah, they could do that for sure. But all right, Daryl, can we get the reveal with the drum roll, please?
I want to know if anyone's got it right.
Let's take a look.
Ah!
Bladworth, Saskatchewan. So at this point, Daryl has dropped himself $100 down to $3,400. Brendan, you have won with $3,501. You are the Disc Golf Jeopardy champion of the night. And if you want to see a great little thing that was in the beginning vignette for the 2023 or 2024 Gold Eagle, 2024, right. I believe. And that's where Matt's saying, it was said that some kids were throwing metal discs at a circle on the ground. And that was the first known recordable example of disc golf in Canada, was in Bladworth, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, but do we trust Matt though?
I don't know, Matt.
The claim is in the world, I think.
Oh, in the world. He only kept it to
heard
Canada, but I could see Matt. I was sure
people
too
in
that
California claim it, but I think in the world, the claim is that flatbush and catfish.
Wow.
that's amazing.
There you go.
Because I could have saw Matt just pulling our leg too, but I'm like, hey, according to Parks Pro. So there you go.
I've heard separate from that is the case. But I think people in California don't like that to be the case. So.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Well, now in our disc golf Jeopardy for Around the Basket, Daryl, it's unfortunate, but the guests are now in the lead with
That's
2
fine.
wins to your 1.
You know, we did the fantasy episodes, the fantasy podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I took the lead and I never looked back and I won the fantasy episode. So now during the Jeopardy, you know, it's a little bit of give and take is that the guests come on and beat me down in the Jeopardy.
Well, and I know you're probably going to say there was some fault with the questions, but...
Yeah, we could blame the question master on some of it, but show me how to do the Jeopardy thing and I'll do it next week.
I will. No matter what. I would have bet whatever I needed to. I would have had enough money to bet to hopefully reach you at least. Cash.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
Well, Daryl, that kind of takes it to my end of the Disc Golf Jeopardy. How do you want to end this thing?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is, Brendan, thank you for being our guest on the podcast this week. Is there anything that you've got coming up? Anything that you want to shout out? Any things that you want to let the people know?
What do I want to let the people know?
You're going to have some more discs coming soon?
I hope so, yeah. Feel free to support us. We're not getting rich on this. We're doing this to provide options for people in Alberta. So if you're going to order from somewhere, we'd appreciate if you ordered from here and just keep us in mind for whatever you're looking for. Thanks to you guys for spreading the chain out word of disc golf around, and hopefully we'll be getting some new courses into the ground somewhere near you as well. So
nice.
Perfect.
That's all I got.
And we thank you for supporting Chain Out by wearing our lovely hat.
Yeah.
And everything that you do for the podcast as well.
Yeah. You're always willing to help us and support us, and we definitely appreciate that.
So, if you were to take that trust, Jeremy.
Oh, you got to have a trust.
You got to have trust in disc golf, right?
And with
right,
your disc.
Brendan?
That's right.
If you were to take that trust and you were going to head down to Forest Lawn.
Oh,
no, yes. Let's say we're going to go to the top of the world shot.
Oh, at WJ Homestead?
At WJ Homestead.
That you need trust on that shot.
You would need trust on that shot.
Yeah.
You're going to take that disc. You're going to throw it down the hill.
Well, you don't actually throw it down the hill. You know what you do?
What do you do?
Throw it as far right as humanly possible.
Okay, yeah.
And watch it fade back left.
There you go.
As it goes down the hill.
But when it gets near the basket.
Yes.
Is it going to go in the basket?
Well, I'm going to trust it to do one thing every time I throw it.
And what's that disc going to do for you, Jeremy?
I don't know, Brendan. Do you know what that disc is going to do?
I believe I do.
It's going to...
Chain
out! Thanks, Brendan.
Thanks, Brendan. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.